In our last episode, we watched Asa, Judah's greatest reformer, begin as a legend and end in silence. Today, we cross the border from Judah to Israel, and we return to a name you already know, Jeroboam, the man who made Israel sin for 200 years.
You have gone up to Jerusalem long enough. Behold your gods, O Israel, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt.
The man a blind prophet warned would be destroyed, his house wiped out, not one that breathed left alive. That prophecy is about to be fulfilled.
Why do you pretend to be another? For I am charged with unbearable news for you.
His son inherited the throne. His son inherited the sin. And a man named Baasha was already sharpening a knife. This is the story of Nadab, the heir of the rebellion and the curse, and the last king of the house of Jeroboam.
A king is laying siege to a city. His army surrounds the walls of Gibbathon, a Philistine stronghold on the western edge of Israel's territory. Tents stretch across the plain. Siege equipment stands ready. The army of Israel is here in force, with its king at the center. It looks like a military campaign. It is also a funeral in progress. Somewhere in that camp, a man named Baasha, the son of Ahijah, is watching the king. He has been watching him for a while. And somewhere between the siege lines and the royal tent, he makes his move to assassinate the king. The king's name is Nadab. He reigned for 2 years. He will not live to see the city fall. Nadab is one of the sparsest kings in the biblical record. The Bible gives Nadab 7 verses. 7. A 2-year reign, a brief moral evaluation, a siege at Gibbathon in Philistine territory, and a sudden death by conspiracy at the hands of Baasha. For a king who reigned 2 years, launched at least one military campaign, and whose death set off a chain reaction that wiped an entire dynasty from the earth, most readers skip over him entirely. He sits between Jeroboam and Baasha in the list of northern kings, almost like a comma between 2 more interesting stories. But Nadab is not a comma. He is a verdict. Everything that happens in his brief reign is the direct consequence of what his father Jeroboam set in motion. Jeroboam had reigned for 22 years. He had been given everything, anointed by the prophet Ahijah, handed 10 tribes out of the 12, told that if he walked in the ways of David, God would build him an enduring dynasty. He did not walk in the ways of David. He built golden calves. He appointed priests from outside the Levitical line. He manufactured a festival in the 8th month to replace the divinely appointed calendar. He climbed the altar himself and burned incense, the role of the high priest, claimed by a king with no right to it.
The text records God's assessment without softening.
He did more evil than all who came before him.
And then he died, and his son Nadab became king. Jeroboam sinned, Israel followed, and God, through the prophet Ahijah, had already announced what the end of that road would look like. Nadab is what the end of that road looks like. His story is not primarily about him. It is about what inherited sin costs the generation that carries it, and what happens when prophecy meets its appointed hour. Before we watch what happens to Nadab, we need to remember what had already been said. Years earlier, the prophet Ahijah had delivered a verdict.
Jeroboam's wife had come to Ahijah in disguise, asking about a sick son. The blind prophet had seen through the disguise before she spoke a word. And then he delivered the most comprehensive judgment against a dynasty in the early history of the northern kingdom. The prophecy stated that God would raise up a king who would cut off the house of Jeroboam. He would destroy them all. He would leave to the house of Jeroboam not one that breathed until he had destroyed it. Those words had been spoken, and they sat in history like a loaded weapon. Jeroboam died. Nadab had inherited the throne, and the words of Ahijah had not gone anywhere. A prophecy does not expire. It does not soften with the passage of time. It waits with perfect patience for the moment of its fulfillment. And that moment was coming. It was already walking toward Gibbathon. Gibbathon was a city with a complicated history. When the tribes of Israel entered the Promised Land, the city was assigned first to the tribe of Dan, then designated as a Levitical city, a place set apart for the priests and their families. It was, in origin, a holy city. By the time of Nadab's reign, it was in Philistine hands. This was not a minor border skirmish. Gibbathon sat on the western edge of Israelite territory, on the contested frontier between Israel and Philistia. Its possession by the Philistines represented an ongoing breach in the western boundary of the northern kingdom. Nadab chose to address it. He brought the full army of Israel and laid siege to the city. It was, on the face of it, a reasonable military decision. Recover lost territory, demonstrate strength, give the northern kingdom a victory on the western front. What the text does not tell us is how long the siege had been running. Sieges in the ancient world were slow operations, weeks, sometimes months. The army was camped, the logistics were settled, the king was at the center of the operation, which meant that Nadab was surrounded by his own soldiers, and one of those soldiers was Baasha. Baasha, the son of Ahijah, was from the tribe of Issachar. Issachar's territory lay in the fertile Jezreel Valley, prime agricultural land. The tribe was associated with farming, not warfare. Jacob's blessing over Issachar in Genesis chapter 49 described the tribe as, quote-unquote, a strong donkey crouching between the sheepfolds. Baasha came from common stock. Years later, God would say through the prophet Jehu that he had exalted Baasha out of the dust. He was not from a royal line. He was not a prophet's anointed. But at Gibbathon, Baasha was a military man, one of Nadab's own commanders embedded in the army, with enough influence to organize a conspiracy against the king. The text does not describe his motive. It does not tell us how long he had been planning or whether he acted alone. 1 Kings chapter 15, verse 27 simply says, Baasha conspired against him, and Baasha struck him down at Gibbathon. Nadab was killed at the siege, in the middle of a military campaign, surrounded by his own army, by one of his own men. The text records no resistance from the army. No loyal officers rallied to defend Nadab. No civil war followed. The army accepted the new reality. Baasha killed the king, and Baasha became king in the 3rd year of Asa, king of Judah. Nadab had reigned 2 years. He was the first king of the divided monarchy to be assassinated. Baasha then proceeded to do what the prophecy had already specified he would do. As soon as he was king, he killed all the house of Jeroboam. He left to the house of Jeroboam not one that breathed until he had destroyed it. Every son, every grandson, every male descendant. And the text makes certain the reader understands why. Verse 29, according to the word of the Lord that he spoke by his servant Ahijah the Shilonite. This was not Baasha's ambition fulfilling itself. This was Ahijah's words arriving at their destination. Verse 30 names the cause with surgical precision. It was for the sins of Jeroboam, that he sinned and that he made Israel to sin, and because of the anger to which he provoked the Lord, the God of Israel. The accounting came, not to him, but to his son. Nadab's assassination established something in the northern kingdom that would never be undone. In the south, the house of David would reign unbroken for over 400 years, from David to the Babylonian exile. 20 kings, one dynasty. The north would have 19 kings across 9 different dynasties in roughly 200 years. The throne changed hands by violence again and again. And there is one more detail about Gibbathon that the text does not explain, but the reader eventually discovers. Decades later, when Baasha's own son, Elah, sat on the throne, the army of Israel would be camped at Gibbathon again, besieging the same Philistine city, still unconquered. But Elah was not with his army. He was back in Tirzah, drinking himself drunk in the house of his steward. And there, in the capital, Zimri, commander of half his chariots, walked in and struck him down. As soon as Zimri sat on the throne, he destroyed the entire house of Baasha, every relative, not one male left alive. The same purge, the same prophetic fulfillment, the same pattern, carried out against a different dynasty. And when the troops at Gibbathon heard what Zimri had done, they did not accept him. That same day, in the camp, they proclaimed Omri, commander of the army, as king. Omri marched from Gibbathon to Tirzah and besieged the capital. Zimri, seeing the city was taken, burned the palace over himself. He reigned 7 days. Gibbathon, the same city, the same siege. Both times the army was encamped against those walls, a dynasty ended. Nadab was killed there. Elah's dynasty was destroyed while his army sat there, and Omri was crowned there. Israel never took Gibbathon. But Gibbathon swallowed 2 dynasties. That is not coincidence. That is the kind of recurring image that the author of Kings places deliberately, trusting careful readers to notice the pattern. Next time on Crown and Consequence, Baasha, the man who killed Nadab and took his throne, the man who wiped out the house of Jeroboam, and then became exactly what he had destroyed. The same altars, the same sin, the same prophecy, now spoken against him. History in the Northern Kingdom did not change. It just changed hands. Subscribe so you don't miss it.